Hey kids, you are about to listen to a comedy podcast. That means that none of this is medical advice. Ugh. So if you need medical advice or medical care, just contact your doctor.
Welcome to the Jock podcast featuring Dr. London Smith. You already know what it is. Jock Boys for Life. Introducing your host, Dr. London Smith.
Hello, and welcome to the Jock podcast, where we discuss fitness and health and how to incorporate our modern understanding of science and medicine into our daily lives, but without it being so boring. I'm your host, drlondonsmith.com. I would like to begin by apologizing to our listeners. We've received some feedback about the excessive amount of technical medical terminology that I've been using, such as tuberoinfundibular pathway and shut up fatty. So I will attempt to simplify my choice of words in the future. Here to help with that is our producer, Cameron.
Hi, Dr. London.
Hi. So, when Cameron heard about secret handshakes, he began asking people to hand theirs over so that he could learn the secret. And Cameron, so I don't quite follow that concept.
Well, why are they keeping it from me? I guess that's what I don't get about it. Is everyone's got like these like secret handshakes going on, and like I'm not involved, I guess. No one's asking me to have a secret handshake.
Okay, so you just want to be a part.
Well, I just want to be lit in on the secret. If there's money to be made here, Dr. London, I really need it.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. So, to clarify, a handshake is the act of shaking someone else's hand with one's own, and it's used as a greeting or to finalize an agreement. And so,
yes,
a secret handshake is just sort of a personalized one that you make up. It even appears on the Jock podcast logo, actually. So, I'm not really sure how you could learn a secret from it.
But Dr. London, if I can get to the bottom of this secret, what's down there? You know what I mean? What's at the X that marks the spot? It's got to be gold, right? It has to be.
Well, I don't see how there could be a secret in it. Like, I don't.
All of this is irrelevant because I'm not shaking hands right now anyway.
Right.
Because of the stuff that's been going on and going around, and you know what I'm talking about. Touching people right now because of the kind of virus that's been going around lately.
Okay. So I know you're worried about becoming ill, but
yeah.
No,
well, that's why
if you shake hands and then practice hand washing after a handshake or use antiseptic, then that can prevent the transfer. Do you see what I mean?
I get it, but I'm actually just trying to catch it on my own terms. You know what I mean? I'm not going to trust it from somebody else, but that's why I'm eating right now on the podcast, because this thing that's been going around, I kind of want to catch it, kind of like how you catch chicken pox, and then you can never catch it again.
Well,
and this thing being, of course, diabetes. I've been really, really stressing about it. It's been in the news a lot lately. And I think the solution is to kind of help my immune system is to catch it. But I don't want to catch it from someone else because I don't trust it. I want to catch it on my own. Does that make sense?
Okay. Well, and to clarify on this, so diabetes is, it's a problem with insulin, either, production or sensitivity in cells. And people can get it from a certain lifestyle and becoming overweight and that kind of thing. It's not, you're talking about it like it's a virus. But no,
I'm just
it's
trying to get
it's
it.
a
I'm just trying to
disease.
catch it to get it over with, Dr. London.
And so actually diabetes usually progressively worsens. It's not something you can catch and then finish with.
And then once it's over, then I won't have to worry about it again. I'm
And to clarify,
just trying to do that.
Even chicken pox, actually, it doesn't go away. That's still in your system, and it's the same virus that will later cause shingles. I don't know if you've
Then
heard of
why
that.
have I been touching? Why have I been touching all of these chickens?
You're asking me why you have been touching chickens?
Anytime I stroll past a chicken coop, I always am gonna try to touch as many chickens as possible. Because I thought
Right.
that was helping my immune system.
No.
What
no,
is the
that's
point
just,
of any of this?
That's sort of just unnecessary exposure.
I've been playing in the mud. I've been touching as many chickens as I possibly can. I've been eating like hell. And you're telling me this is all for naught?
I don't think it is helping you. No. I like diet and exercise and frequently washing your hands. Those kinds of things can help you, stay
And avoiding
disease-free.
handshakes, like we established.
Well, I would say for the handshakes.
Because I do want to get sick, but just not from another person. That's gross.
Yeah. All right. Well, also with us is Digital in the house. Hey, kids.
Hey, kids.
None of this is medical advice. So if you need medical advice, none of this is medical advice.
None of this.
Is medical advice. Nope.
And later, Cameron tells me that we can expect a special guest, so look forward to that. Before we move on, though, I would like to address a bit of listener feedback. So, this listener feedback comes from a piece of paper that was tied to a brick that crashed through my window last night. Quote, "When your kids are misbehaving, you gotta wrestle them to the ground and put a saddle on them like you would a horse.
Yes.
That's how they know that you own them." End quote. First of all, we'd like to thank our listeners for this insightful question on the Jock Doc podcast. We do love to hear back from our listeners. To answer your question, there are many approaches to parenting, but saddling a child for the purpose of displaying ownership is a fairly atypical one. And so I cannot, I unfortunately cannot endorse this method.
Well, it didn't crash into your living room. It kind of swung in there. I just wanted to clarify that.
Swung? I wasn't looking when it came in, but the window crashed was my point. Like it broke the window. And the sound was a crash. And how do you know what it sounded like? Or what it was?
Because I understand the difference between a crash and a swing. And that was clear. It was swung in there. It didn't crash into your living room. You're being dramatic.
You think I'm being dramatic because it
Just go on. Just continue.
Okay. Well, in any case, so we can't endorse that method of parenting because it could harm the child. But once again, thank you for your question, and thank you for listening. And now for a tale from the hospital. We had a 75-year-old patient who had fallen off of his horse and broken his femur. He noted that this had happened before, and so anyway, after he fell off his horse, he then scooted on his back for the length of 2 acres in order to find help. He developed an infection post-op, but he ultimately did well. While asking if he has anything in his medical history that might be relevant, to this infection and the post-op issues, he noted that the post-op infection is similar to when his helicopter was shot down in Vietnam and monkeys threw feces at him. He developed a bad infection then too, and asked if this could be related to his current infection. I told him that it was probably not.
Real, I would actually say that if that happened to me, almost any infection I got after that point would probably point back to that moment, right?
No, I mean, not necessarily.
I feel like once I've been attacked by monkeys, I would say most of my life problems could point back to that.
Well, so in this instance, and with any of these operations and infections, you're looking for things that could have gotten into that wound. And so it's more of the problems in the present than in the past that would be applicable. Does that make sense?
No, Dr. London, I'm saying if I couldn't even get into a Six Flags, I would probably blame the monkey thing.
Okay.
Almost everything would have to point back to that.
So if you ever had something traumatic happen to you at one point, you would not just feel the burden of that, but you would attribute future any incident in the future to that one experience.
Most of those incidents are going to be infections. Let's be real, knowing my history, right? Most of the big events in my life are infection related. I think that's pretty clear.
Well, but mostly due to your own actions.
Well, that's neither my own actions caused by the monkeys from my past. It doesn't matter who is at fault here. What I am saying is that most of the Facebook memory, like life achievement goal things on my Facebook feed, most of them are based on contracting and getting rid of various infections. Whereas a lot of people might have like their wedding, the birth of their child. Mine is mostly the foot thing is back.
Yeah.
The foot thing is larger.
Mm-hmm.
The foot thing is louder.
It grew back. I cut it off. Yeah.
The foot thing has its own foot thing now.
Yeah.
Wow.
That one was...
The foot thing still has a Twitter account, right?
The foot thing, it's not really a Twitter account as much as it is sort of a live journal that he hooked up to a Twitter account.
Right.
So the only thing that it tweets is its posts.
Okay.
And its posts are mostly complaining about its own foot thing.
Okay, so I guess we can't recommend to our listeners to follow that. It sounds like it wouldn't be that good of an experience.
All that to say, like, should I be touching monkeys as I pass them?
No, please refrain from, touching any wild animals that you encounter.
Well, I mean, how wild is it really if it's wearing a hat?
Wild. It can still be wild even if it wears a hat. You can put a hat on a lot of things. Does that make sense?
That is true. That's valid.
All right. Now for today's medical topic, atrial myxoma. An atrial myxoma is a benign gelatinous growth, typically pedunculated, which means that it is attached to a sort of stalk or stem, and it is usually arising from the interatrial septum of the heart in the region of the fossa ovalis. So that is the upper middle part of the heart on the wall that separates the two upper heart chambers. It is the most common primary cardiac neoplasm, and neoplasm is a term for a new and abnormal growth of tissue. Although benign, atrial myxomas can embolize or break off from that stalk, leading to metastatic disease, or the atrial myxomas can cause relative valvular dysfunction. Clinically, atrial myxomas prototypically present with fatigue, fever, syncope,
okay, that makes sense.
like fainting, palpitations, and a low-pitched diastolic.
You mentioned relative dysfunction.
Relative valvular dysfunction.
That would explain a lot about a lot of the stuff that's been going on with my family. If we're talking about relative dysfunction, if you're saying that's a heart thing that's causing it, that would make so much sense.
Okay, I should clarify on this point. When I use the term relative here, I mean it's in relation to the topic that we're talking about. So it's dysfunctional relative to the normal valvular function. Does that make sense?
I mean, I remember the time when my dad ran over my grandmother's four-wheeler with his own four-wheeler, and kind of the strife that caused our family, and thinking it was hopeless because of my relative's dysfunction. But now knowing that it was actually a disease all along, and it wasn't just because he shotgunned like a six-pack,
Right.
kind of went buck crazy.
Well, I
That
don't.
makes a lot of sense. And I wish I knew that before. I'm growing a lot from this podcast, Dr. London. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess there is some benefit in at least empathizing with their situation, even though I can't say whether or not it was a heart condition. In any case, atrial myxomas also can present with a low-pitched diastolic murmur that changes character with changing body positions. And this murmur is sometimes known as a diastolic plop. Treatment is typically surgical excision.
Are you wanting me to make a joke on plop, Dr. London? Are you wanting me to riff on low different noises and different positions or whatever? One of them being a plop. Is that the goal here? You're trying to bait me?
No, that's the name commonly used, the term applied to this.
My father ran over my uncle's skateboard with a four-wheeler after shotgunning a whiskey bottle.
Okay,
And to
I'm
know
sorry.
that it was a disease all along.
And once again, I really can't say whether or not he had a heart condition. That's
Well, we know he doesn't have a heart at this point. Because after he passed and those grave robbers dug him up, that was the first thing they took.
they go for the heart first.
I guess. Something was scooped out of there.
You mean out of the grave?
Well, yeah, and out of his body cavity.
Huh. Okay. This sounds like a whole extra mystery to solve, but I feel like we can just move on from there. All right, Cameron, you said that we have a guest today. Is that right?
We absolutely do, Dr. London.
All right. Hello there.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Hey, we're
Hey.
good. My name is drlondonsmith.com. This is our producer, Cameron, and you're on the Jock podcast. What was your name?
I'm really excited to be here. It's John Smith, but hey, my friends call me Quarters, so just call me Quarters.
Okay.
Call you quarters.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
like nickels, dimes, and quarters.
that's right. Like Quarters.
Like
Okay.
the backs.
So I got it. It was based on like all the quarters that I stole from my mom's purse growing up.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So you're a man of loose morals.
I mean, I was. I don't know if I still am. I mean, I don't steal quarters anymore. So I mean,
You just have your nicknames.
yeah,
for it.
it's just, it was something that I did as a kid, and you know.
And it's something you were so known for as a kid.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know you guys are. I think I'm, probably twice your guys' age. You might not be aware, but that one point in history, kids were really excited about getting quarters because it meant they could go to the arcade and play video games, and so yeah, the fact that I always had quarters kind of stood out.
But you were famous for stealing the quarters.
Yes.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out at what point did your friends say this is your nickname now, quarters. This is because you've stolen so many of your mom's quarters. I just don't see that happening. It kind of sounds like you gave yourself this nickname.
I resent that implication. It was absolutely given to me by my friends. It would be happening when we were at the video arcade, and they would not have any quarters, and they would come up to me and hold out a dollar bill and say, "Quarters?" and I would give them quarters.
All right, Dr. London, can I talk to you in private real quick?
Yeah, it sounds like we
Okay,
should.
Dr. London. So first of all, this dude's a thief. I've got a shit ton of quarters in my pocket right now, Dr. London. Now I'm really worried about them.
Yeah, well, they were jangling a lot. You keep shaking your pants around too, like dancing.
Well, yeah, I like the noise that they make.
Yeah, so it was hard not to pick up on it.
And secondly, so we got a thief here as a guest, and he's a liar. He's trying to convince us that he didn't give himself the nickname Quarters when obviously he would have had to, because otherwise, how would his friends know that he stole all these quarters from his mom?
I am pretty confused that stealing from your parents is a secretive thing usually, but he must have done it enough to get the nickname. Anyway, let's
Well, yeah, and his friends just thought that was like so awesome that they start calling him that.
Yeah.
No, there's no way that's true. All right, let's get back to it.
Yeah.
I can't remember how we got this guy on the podcast.
Okay. So quarters. We can you
Yeah.
know, it doesn't matter how you got your nickname or whether you had friends.
I mean, I absolutely had friends. I mean, they would come up to me with these bills all the time and say quarters, quarters, and I would give them quarters.
Did you ever think that, and this is just a general question here, were you supposed to make change for people, and was that just a request of theirs and not necessarily a nickname?
I mean, I did work at the arcade. So,
yeah.
I mean, you know, that was part of my job, but still, I mean, everybody was calling me Quarters all the time. I took it as a nickname. They never called me John.
Yeah. Did you have a name tag or anything saying John?
I mean, it was a pretty low budget place, so I don't think I did.
Right.
It was a long time ago, but I don't think I did.
And these were your closest friends?
Well, I mean, they were friends. They were people I knew from the arcade.
Yeah, colleagues of yours. So John,
I mean, you know, we were kids, so colleague is kind of a, you know, I mean, some of us went to the same school.
Mr. Quarters, I do have to ask, why are you here today?
Oh, well, you know, as it happens, it ties back to the video games. I'm here because I'm hoping to get your help in producing a new medically related video game.
Oh, wow.
Oh, interesting. Well, I actually had an idea for like a medically related video game that
Oh, I'm all ears.
hopefully you're not stealing my idea.
I honestly, I mean, if you mention it on this podcast, which is being listened to by, I'm sure, you know, some listeners, then it's going to be pretty obvious I couldn't just steal it, but I would absolutely give you credit, you know, somewhere buried in the game, which would be great exposure for you.
Okay. So, okay, I've got a pretty good idea, and that I'm pretty proud of. Mine is called Defibrillator Hero.
Okay.
Is it like Guitar Hero?
Yeah, you use like a defibrillator peripheral that plugs into the machine. Then you take your friend, and then you just kind of shock the hell out of them. You know, just like you just hold them down and you just go zoomp, zoomp, zoomp.
Okay. I love the idea. I love where you're going with it. Would this be done to music?
I mean, you can listen to whatever you want. Like, I don't care. I don't have control over that.
Well, I'm just thinking in terms of, you know, there are other games that are similar to what you're talking about. In that they have instruments that you play for the video game, but you know, the game plays music, and your objective is to play the instrument in time and push the right buttons with the game.
Oh, yeah. No, see, the objective of this one is to save your friend's life. So your friend is about to die because of whatever you just injected in them or whatever. I haven't figured that part out. But your friend is on the brink of death. Your goal as the, you know, defibrillator hero is to save your dying friend that's dying before you.
Okay. I see where you're going.
So my question on that one, Are they dying in real life or just within the game, the video game?
I would say both. If you're dying in real life, you are sort of always dying in the video game too.
Yeah,
Because if you die, then that is definitely like a game over. You're done with the game.
I think that's a great point. I mean, in today's world, video game technology is advancing by leaps and bounds. Virtual reality is becoming very prominent. I think having a virtual reality game where you shock your friend and they experience real electrical charges across the chest or wherever you place the are they called paddles in the game, that would be very lifelike and realistic.
Yeah, and I think bringing your friend to the brink of death even before starting the game to make the actual goal have real stakes is sort of the thing that we kind of have been expecting out of VR. We want this to be real life.
I kind
and
of
augmented reality and mobile games.
Here's the thing about
and
it, though.
strategy games.
It sounds like what you're
Not to mention
describing,
RTSs.
Cameron.
RTSs, yeah.
It sounds like what you're describing, if you had no actual video game aspect, you're pretty much just poisoning your friend and then using a defibrillator on them. And it doesn't sound like a game. It just sounds like, attempted murder.
It's sort of like a multifaceted alternate reality game / augmented reality game / mobile virtual reality experience.
I respect your medical experience, but I mean, it's clear that you're not a video game player, are you?
He's not a gamer.
I dabble a little bit. I've played a few games, but
Nope.
No. Dr. London's not a gamer. He has never once thought of shooting up a school. Never once.
Wow.
I don't understand that. How can you even claim to be a casual gamer if you haven't, ripped off a prostitute or shot up a school in a game somewhere?
Yep.
yeah, I guess, I'd say I'm more of a Nintendo kind of guy. Something that's a group game that you can get to know someone else while you play. It's a fun group interactive thing.
I mean, even those games are extremely violent. I mean, even going back to the early Nintendo days with like Super Mario World, have you not noticed what Mario does to all those other characters in the game? I mean, he jumps on them and squishes them.
Tom Nook is a slave owner.
Cameron, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that game. Can you elaborate?
From Animal Crossing, the sort of landlordy type of guy that you get a loan from in every single Animal Crossing game, Tom Nook, he's a slave driver.
Huh. Yeah, I honestly, that is one of the games that I haven't played, so I'm not familiar, but I do believe you. I mean, if you're borrowing money from someone in a video game, it's a well-established video game rule that moneylenders are slave owners.
Absolutely. So, okay. Quarters, I want to hear a little bit about your game.
Right. Okay. So the game that I'm proposing as a medical experience game is something that will teach about the benefits of radiation. The premise is that your character, it's a first person, kind of a cross between a first person shooter and a role playing game. Your character is a survivor who's been living underground for several years after a nuclear holocaust, and he and it's referred to as a safe, and so you've been living in this safe for a long time with other people, but I haven't worked out the premise yet. For some reason, you leave the safe and you emerge in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and there's radiation everywhere, like everything, all the food, all the drink is contaminated. You encounter different people. Some of them have been affected by the radiation and and have developed super strength or immortality. And I mean, because there's some physical side effects, but overall, I mean, obviously, clearly positives. And you kind of go around this area helping the community out.
So this game doesn't sound all that medical. The way you, at least the way you're describing it here, it sounds like maybe, for one thing, it sounds familiar. I think I know this game.
I don't know how you could have. It's a completely unique concept. I disagree that it's not medical. I mean, a big feature of the game would be that, from in various places, you might get injured and you would find things called stim packs and they would restore your health. So that's clearly medical.
Ah, like a STEM degree.
Yes, exactly.
See? Dr.
Okay.
London?
Well, there is a game out that's famous for being sort of in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Those are referred to as the Fallout games. But even regardless
No,
of whether,
I don't see the similarity at all.
well,
Yeah, there's
even
no little like blonde guy giving a thumbs up or whatever.
No, we absolutely would not have that.
well, so one of the other aspects of so radioactivity will cause things like cancer potentially, and it's
Well, and
not
like maybe like larger in some places. You know what I mean?
I
like
mean,
a tumor.
Yeah, I mean you could
I
say
think
that.
I mean, okay. I've spent some time on the internet reading about radiation, and also reading more extensive literature about what radiation can do. And I mean, it's well documented that radiation can trigger all kinds of beneficial mutations like super strength or invisibility. Or, I mean, just a number of these things.
Okay.
I mean, there's lots of literature out there about this.
There's
Taste testability. You're able to anything you taste, you're able to pick apart the ingredients.
so
I'm not familiar with that one, but I certainly believe it.
so I think the literature that you're
My
referring to.
dad, he can eat any flavor at Baskin Robbins, and if you give him like 3 or 4 guesses, he'll be able to get pretty close.
Wow, that's amazing. I wish I had a skill like that. I mean, that.
Can we put that in your video game?
I think it would be really great if that would be one of the benefits from the radiation that the main character could choose to adopt. I mean, that's going to
Okay,
be
great.
part of the medical aspect of this is that you get to choose your mutations. And, not everybody might want the same mutations. I mean, we don't want to make the game, monotonous and boring.
But this is the sort of medical realism that has been missing in a lot of video games. Wouldn't you say, Dr. London?
Yeah, well, here's the issue I see with it. You say that there's a lot of literature that covers this specific topic of these effects of radiation. The only literature that I know of that is emphatic and documents that kind of thing is fictional literature, like comic books, superhero kind of things.
I mean, they were superheroes, yes.
Didn't at one time scientists and doctors say that the Earth being round was fictional?
Thank you.
Before the modern age of medicine?
They said the past doctors said the Earth being round, that's a fictional book.
So
How about that?
And I would point out that there has been a tremendous amount of fiction that has turned out to be based on reality.
Moby Dick.
Absolutely. And so, I mean,
Big whales. You see whales all the
there
time.
are whales out there. So who's to say that these, what you call comic books, which frankly I find dismissive, aren't actually, real literature about the benefits of radiation.
Or Oliver Twist, right? Orphan Boy.
Right. I mean, orphan boys are real.
okay, and I should clarify a point here that just because they are, from a work of fiction doesn't mean that there are aspects within that work of fiction that are, based on reality. There are orphan boys in real life. If we go back to the super...
Do they want more?
And sometimes orphan boys are hungry for more.
Okay, so it sounds like we're all on the same page here.
Well, I just want to clarify one point, because this does seem to be something you're skipping over here, is that just because aspects are based on reality doesn't mean that some of these other parts, like, for instance, the effects of radiation on a human body, some of those parts are taken to exaggerations. So in the comics, instead of causing cancer, they will often cause, superpowers.
Yeah, like super cancer.
Right. Or spider strength, or shooting webs out of your wrists. Sure, any of those.
Yeah, I mean, spider strength cancer. You've got super strength cancer. You've got the kind of stretchy ability, cancer.
Right, X-ray vision cancer, invisibility cancer, all of those cancers. Right, but okay. So I think, Dr. London, I think I get what you're saying. One of the challenges in dealing with some works of fiction, or what we call fiction, is that they haven't happened yet. Even though, a lot of things from fiction have happened, which I think is pretty, good, is a pretty solid establishment that, fiction becomes reality. I think what your objection here is, though, is that since it's not actually been proven yet, even though it will be, that maybe you want something a little bit more historically established, something that we can point in and say, yep, that was in the past, that really happened. Would that be more to your line of thinking as one of the game producers?
Sure, and I should clarify, if it's just a game, then it's fine. It's just, if we're going to call it, something that teaches us medicine, then we can't, it has to be factual and evidence-based.
Well,
the whole point here is to create a medical game.
Yeah, and part of this agreement that this sort of slipped my mind, I forgot to ask you about it earlier, Dr. London, is that you are going to be on the cover of this game giving a thumbs up saying, I approve of everything in this game, and everything in this game is real.
Okay.
Right, and also
you can play this game and be smarter than your doctor. That's one of the things you're going to say to endorse it.
I'm sorry, Quarters, did you just say that I have to dye my hair blonde for that?
Yeah, and dye your hair blonde, give that big thumbs up. Right.
Are you?
Yep.
That sounds a lot like the logo for that other game that seems very similar.
And you're just going to say...
No, that's clearly a cartoony character. We're talking about a real photo of a real person.
Real photo of a real person with a few Photoshop effects on top of it that make you look like maybe like a drawing. And you're going to say, everything in this game is medically accurate. I stake my career on it.
Cameron, I'm going to have to give you credits for the arts and graphics now, too. So well done.
Oh, thank you.
All right, well, Quarters, back to what you were saying. Let's hear about this other, hopefully it's maybe a more medically relevant game. You said something historical?
Right. So another way we could go with this. So again, we want this to be an interactive game. So I'm still thinking first-person perspective. But let's set it in the past. Let's say that you are a person who is wandering around a large, expansive, historical time frame where, there's really not much technology. You might see windmills, you've got horse and carts, certainly like blacksmithing and such. And, but then this is a time period where there's still magic. And so you travel around this land and you meet a bunch of different people. And it turns out that your character has something called Griffin-born, which means he's able to speak the language of griffins, and uses this power to sort of fight off an invasion of griffins. But where the medical part of it comes in is that he would use like bandages to heal wounds whenever he gets injured. All kinds of opportunities to heal oneself because of the damage that would be taken.
Okay, so here's the issue I see with that game, is that it doesn't really sound medical at all, except for the very small point, which is present in a lot of games, as far as I'm aware, where they use bandages to heal themselves. Because in these games, characters get hurt. They get hurt.
You know what? I forgot to mention probably the most important point, because of course historically, when we still had magic, a lot of the magic was used for healing too.
Okay, well, and this doesn't help us that much because, magic is not a regular part of medicine today.
A regular part of
modern.
your practice, because you have not learned it. You have not trained in that aspect of health and medicine, right, Dr. London?
Well, in our, Western American, evidence-based medicine, we don't really use magic. Don't really study that so much.
I'm really shocked.
I am so sorry,
at
Quarters.
Just the blatant racism in that whole Western
I'm sorry?
centric, like you're dismissing entire cultures that have, tremendous senses of spirituality and magic in their history, and you're all about this whole Western centric. I mean, wow.
Okay, and I guess I should clarify there that this is, since you're appealing to me as a medical practitioner, I'm trying to just, tell you what context I'm looking at it from. So you could maybe get an endorsement from, say, a witch doctor or, someone.
At least you're acknowledging that witches are doctors. I appreciate that much. So I'll give you some credit for that.
But you don't think mages are doctors too, Dr. London?
I don't regularly encounter mages, but if they don't have, a doctorate, a degree in medicine.
Of course you don't. You don't get out of your little rich person bubble, do you?
I mean, seriously, the privilege on this one, Cameron, I don't even.
I am so sorry. It's just his elitist snobbery. It's constantly like this.
I think we need to move past it and just deal with what we got here.
Okay.
So how can we assist you in making this game a reality and endorsing it fully?
Well, I mean, it sounds to me that like Dr. London has another problem with my ideas, but so I have others, but I mean the core thing we're looking for here right now is basically funding for project development. And that's where we were, since we're doing a medically based game, we were really hoping that, this very well-to-do elitist doctor with his extensive, debit card could, fund the project and be a contributor to some of the ideas.
And I am here to tell you today, Quarters, I'm very excited for this partnership. We not only are going to help fund your game by donating $1 per pixel in the game, but we are also going to produce it under our own company, under the Jock Gaming branch.
That's, I mean, that is more than I was hoping for, but I am very happy to accept that offer. I think this is going to be an exciting project.
Okay, Cameron, don't take out the contract now. We want to talk about this with lawyers and things.
Yeah, just go ahead and sign here. And actually, you can just put any number you want in this box. Just any number you want.
Okay, so let me see here.
No, I don't want to. I can't medically endorse this.
Direct access to Dr. London's garage, it says right there.
Yeah, I think, which is great. We need a place for the developers to we need a new workspace to be able to get them all in with their computers. I mean, we'll probably be working like 18-hour days and just sleeping right there where we work. But I think 25 million with an option for another 10 in case we go over budget.
Okay, let me talk with my doctor and let me see if we can negotiate this deal. Dr. London, this is a steal. We have to take this offer.
This is no deal. Zero chance.
Dr. London, we have to take this 25 mil. Someone else is going to jump on this. Did you hear his medical ideas?
For
We're
one
going to
thing,
be teaching people medicine through ways that they actually care about. Magic and stuff.
and once again, and that game he was describing sounds a lot like Skyrim, which is a very popular game that already exists.
Yeah, but with none of the medical expertise that you're going to be bringing to the table.
Yeah,
Do you
it
think we
sounds
should
like
offer him more than the 25 million?
it sounds like my medical expertise will not be brought to the table. It sounds like he already decided how much he's going to use. And it's
Buddy,
just
hey,
magic.
Okay, I see what you're worried about now. You're worried that you're not involved enough. But you're going to be on the cover. No
Yeah,
one's going to
that's-
take that away from you.
That's not involved enough.
All right, let's raise the price to 30.
No.
Let's bring it
Okay.
to him. Okay. Quarters, my man.
Hey,
Ooh, you drive a hard bargain, but I'm gonna have to offer you, kind of give you a counter offer here.
I'm
hopefully-
listening.
hopefully you won't be
I'm
mad.
prepared to negotiate.
Okay, we're willing to go to 30 million.
No. Okay, no,
I'm gonna need to think about that.
Okay. Ooh, I hope we get him.
Okay, well,
Come on,
you know what? We
quarters,
can just
buddy.
call it for now. We can finish now. I think we've got enough here for. I think we've gotten all the medical knowledge that we'll get out of our guest quarters here.
I tell you what, Cameron, you drive a hard bargain. You really do. But I think the value that you're going to bring to the project, Cameron, as the artistic with the artistic credits, and also creative contributions that you've already made, I think that's going to be well worth it. So even though Dr. London's, he might be a little bit sketchy
Yeah.
on this, I think we can work with him. We can work with
Okay.
him. We can make it work.
All right,
we can make
we can make it work.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good enough time to call it. All right. Well, thank you to our guest Quarters for being on the show today.
Pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with you both.
All right.
Mainly with Cameron.
Absolutely.
All right. And is there any way that
Pew, 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 pew. That's me gaming, buddy. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. Those are the
Quarters-
noises
Now I
make
got to
when
put
I'm
you on
gaming.
sound effects. Now I got to put you on sound effects.
Yes.
is there any way that listeners can reach you or follow you after this?
Yes, that's quarters at completelynotaCopycatGame.com. Again, that's quarters at completelynotaCopycatGame.com.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you to Quarters for being on the show today. Thank you to Cameron as well, our producer.
Yo.
Thank you to Digital in the House.
Yeah, you use like a defibrillator peripheral that plugs into the machine. Then you take your friend, and then you just kind of shock the hell out of him. You just hold him down and you just go zoom, zoom, zoom. Shock the hell out of him. You just hold him down and you just go zoom, zoom, zoom.
My name is drlondonsmith.com. This has been the Jock Doc Podcast.
See ya. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
It is misty all around you. This mysterious fog is so thick, almost like it's hugging you. You try to hug it back, but it says, "Nuh-uh-uh," and giggles a little. This, of course, infuriates you, so you reach for the baseball bat from the hidden pocket of your skinny jeans and begin to pummel the fog with it. The fog yelps in pain and recoils. When the fog clears, you realize that you're at your friend's baby shower and have destroyed the gifts. Everyone has a hearty chuckle over the matter. Speaking of hearty chuckles, don't forget to leave your 5-star review of the Jock Doc podcast in which you describe where on your person you keep your handy baseball bat for beating fog. And while you're at it, go ahead and share the Jock Doc podcast with a friend or foe. You can send them a link to your favorite episode, or just send them our handy website, jockdocpodcast.com. And don't forget to take a peek at our posts on social media. We are at Jock Doc Podcast. Thanks for listening.